Yvonne Cook-Riley joined her first support group in Chicago in 1981. In 1985, she helped to start the International Foundation for Gender Education, the IFGE, where we first met when I was a board member, 1990 to 1994. She has appeared in over 27 television talk shows, well over 200 radio talk shows. Yvonne was awarded the Outreach Institute Outreach Medal in 1991, the IFGE Trinity Award, also in 1991, the IFGE Virginia Prince Lifetime Service Award in 1995, and the Virginia Prince Pioneer Award in 2013. Please welcome Yvonne Cook-Riley.
Thank you. And thank every one of you for being here and being patient for the last couple of days to hear these wonderful stories, presenting these papers and things like this. I thought that maybe I would reintroduce myself the way that I introduce myself and when I speak in public. My name is Yvonne Cook-Riley, and I am a person of transgendered experience. I would like you to maybe consider, when you are speaking in public, to adopt that, because we are a person first and of transgendered experience second. As you notice, I am going to try, and let me honor some people here. I am so honored to be with people that I've known for 40 years or 38 years, whatever the case may be. Dr. Ariadne Kane sitting here, a wonderful person that was my mentor. Next to Dr. Kane is my spouse of 25 years, Dan Cook-Riley, who actually helped in the development of the female-to-male, a male-to-female community, along with my good friend Jameson Greens, over here, which you had the privilege of listening to for the first keynote on Friday. Jude Patton, I cannot say enough about Jude Patton's influence on my life, because I remember this photograph of this guy, this buffy guy next to a swimming pool. Now see, this really dates me because I remember that photograph so well, because I was so impressed that there were those going the other way. You know, I always thought we were going this way, but I found out there was a whole bunch going that way. And when I understood them and became aware of that, I remembered that the community was so diverse that I wanted to try to understand it a little bit more. So based on that kind of thing, I got involved with the International Foundation for Gender Education as one of their co-founders, publishing a magazine called Tapestry. I never liked the name Tapestry because it didn't say anything. It just says, we're going to weave these patterns and things like this, and people thought that it belonged in a hobby shop store, you know. What is this tapestry thing? So that set me on a course of path of trying to understand we were a tapestry, because we were little organizations, little groups in different parts of the world, organizing, reorganizing, starting support groups and things like this. But we were support groups. We were fragmented. We were a fragmented bunch of people just trying to survive. We weren't really there to where we had any political or economic or social or legal anything. So the first part of what I wanted to talk about is where we were when I came into the community. And the second part is what I would like to talk about is the visionary part of where there's a possibility that this community will find itself going. And I'm going to reference a thing that Ariadne spoke about couple years ago, three things: mind, body, and spirit. And I think you remember bringing that to the table at I don't know what conference we were at, but it had a tremendous impact on me, because I realized that we get so tied up in the concept of moving between what our mind thinks our body should be and what our body thinks our mind should be and everything else, and we can't find out everything, and we neglect spirit. And we're angry at spirit because it kind of ties us into religion. And religion has really done us no favors. They haven't helped us one bit. But as you talk to transgendered people and you have an opportunity to interact with them, you will find without a doubt that they will say, I'm a spiritual person. I see grandmother. So those who would think or feel comfortable, and I don't mean to out you, but those of two-spirit, would you please stand up and show yourself? Okay. I will predict in 5 to 10 years, and thank you so much, Aho, that when you go to a conference 10 years from now and you ask that same question, 50% of the room will say, I can identify as two-spirit. That's what the future is going to bring. That is part of the movement that you will understand in this concept of the world transgender community. And I'll talk more about that later. Right now, I want to talk about that transgendered word. I got a little upset. I got a little, push my buttons during this conference, because I realized that in this room, we have the people that will document, research, and say 200 years from now, when they go back and that academic environment then will look back at today, what happened, right here in this room. Because they are archivists, they are researchers, they are those people that are looking across the street and going through the stuff from people that had something to say back then, and what we're saying here now today is going to be the history of tomorrow. And so those social anthropologists are going to look back and say, well, this is what they were saying, and we want that message to be correct and have them embrace it and hear it from those that are sitting behind me that lived it, that are making that history. James and some of my other pioneers want it to be right. We don't want to have history recorded the way that it wasn't intended to be recorded, because we're challenging you to look at today's opportunity to set certain things out there, and it's your responsibility to look at this word transgender. I had the privilege, because I was the first full-time paid employee of the transgender movement, to be in a position of kind of the director of operations, publisher of the magazine Tapestry, which became Transgender Tapestry, to write the first definition that was published in the Oxford Dictionary in the early 1990s. my definition was very simple. An umbrella term that represented people of gender expression and gender variance. That's it. The reason why that word became so important is because it wasn't anybody's word. It came from the community. It came from Japan. It came from New York. It came from different things. But it didn't have a definition because the psychiatric community wanted to adopt a Greek word to represent this community that would have no meaning or resonance with anybody. And we wanted to say, we're moving now in a paradigm shift. And you are sitting in that shift right now. As this paradigm is moving, you are part of it, just being at this conference. And that paradigm includes an umbrella term over many categories. In my own personal research, I came up with 1,000 different little boxes, talking to over 10,000 transgender people one-on-one. And I was always discovered that there was always a personal story and a personal box that represented their journey, not mine. And that had to have a container. So the word was to try to make a community word transgendered. So when I see the word transsexual and then another word beside it saying transgendered, and it's a behavior kind of category, it's all transgendered. Gender fuck, gender bending, gender whatever the case may be, transsexual, transvestite, these are terms of recognition of a box. There's something that says you belong to one category, you belong to and this is like I'm a white privileged male. Do I go around saying I'm a white privileged male? Well, then I realized being a white privileged male wasn't such a big thing anyway, so now I'm trying to be a white privileged female. Sometimes I'm doing a good job of it, and sometimes I'm not, but I'm still an activist. I'm 74 years old. I think I could go maybe for another 20 years, if I'm lucky. My wife keeps feeding me good food, and I keep listening to her medical advice. But I'm very fortunate. I live in a town called Asheville, North Carolina. We have 9 transgendered support groups and a community of 85,000 people and another 113,000 people in the surrounding areas. That's almost just a little over 200,000 people, and we have 9 transgender support groups. What's going on there? Is it the water? We haven't figured it out yet, but we're working on it. I think it's the beer, because Asheville, North Carolina produces a lot of beer. Some really heavy beer. Bach. That's Bach. That's a German beer. I had to put it in a secret bottle to get it into Canada. I got it disguised as smart water. All right. So my really point is that we are changing, we're going, but how you will see and how you will record this history. And by the way, you'll notice that I didn't have any pre-paid or pre-written kind of thing. And you can go across the road into the archives And you can look in the archives to see how many things. I was a publisher of the magazine, but I didn't write. And somebody says, well, why haven't you written some of this down? And I will tell you the truth and a secret. I am severely dyslexic. Most of the things that are published under my name was written by an editor that wrote them for me. Doesn't mean I couldn't read, I just cannot write. But yet, with that handicap, I am able to say that when the President of the United States, Barack Obama, said the word transgendered, I cried. Because we're now seeing ourselves as human beings experiencing our lives in a valid way of starting a community, just not a medical pathology, just not a psychological experiment. I'm also on the board of directors of TVA, which means Transgendered American Veterans Association. I am serving, and I'm a Vietnam serving vet of that era. The VA in the United States totally supports the gender variant community and its medical needs, psychiatric needs, things like this. We have 2 VA support groups. The VA brings to the United States, or brings now out in their way of changing things in the military establishment. If you were discharged and somebody outed you and said that you no longer can have an honorable discharge, our activist in Washington, D.C., Myra Kinsley, and some of the others have made it possible that you can get that reversed from a less than honorable discharge to an honorable discharge today. Just think of that veteran that was all part of the service. Can I see any veteran? And would you stand up and take anybody in this room that served in the military forces, either in Canada or the United States or any place in the world? Yes. First, thank you for your service. And some of you that did not stand was because of that fear of being outed, that fear that you would not be honored for that time. Most of us, we found out as we talk in the different support groups, we went into the service because we were afraid of suicide, and it was a lot easier for somebody else to shoot us. It was a chicken way out, but we went in there and came back with medals. And some of us that's in my support group back home still have some medal in them. So, but let's talk about now. That's where we've been. This is what you need to consider honoring as we are working as a community. We are redefining this community. It is a fluid community, and it represents every possibility of human experience. So I'm going to bring it now to the conclusion of the idea of what is it coming tomorrow. 2 items that we've already mentioned. Youth. Great opportunities there. Thank you so very much to Ingersoll for doing a lot of the work that they're doing in Seattle. Elders. But next thing is understanding Native American or human spirituality. The idea is that we don't really recognize the history going back from a social anthropology thing, and Joseph Campbell's work and that. Where was the transgendered person or the gay person 5,000 years ago? where are you doing your research and looking at this community 10,000 years ago? We have totally ignored the fact that we were the healers. We were the negotiators. We were the medicine people. And most of all, we were the shamans. I would challenge the community to look at this, to start the road on the red road or whatever path they are all over the world, and go back and start to embrace our heritage. That DNA bloodline that flows through us that makes us something of who and what we are, we need to look and understand that we are the community's healers. How many of you in this room are psychotherapists, social workers, and things like that? Do you think you are what you are just because it's there? No. You are who you are because it's part of your DNA. You might not like it, but you were born that way. We need to embrace that. As you notice, the native garb that I have on, this is mine. The stripes here on the front is native for sunrise or beginning, new beginnings of the day, because we honor that. But I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to ask my native friend here to turn around so you can see the back. You will see a circle. Let me give you the story of the circle. The story of the circle is that you will see a red circle. The red stands for life, the blood. It doesn't have an end. It doesn't have a beginning. It represents that. Now, you've seen the symbol for transgendered, which is always pointing outside of the circle, as we've kind of represented the masculine and the feminine. We incorporated that into the four directions of the north, east, west, south, or north, south, west, east, whatever. And we turned it inward because it is not outside of our life, it is our life. It is our walk. And you will notice in the color of the circle, you will see that there, if you take the bar off, you'll see the sign for masculinity. Put the bar back on, you see the femininity, but you see it as a transgendered kind of thing that is both your masculine and your feminine. The color of the circle here is blue in the long stem of it for grandfather, for the sky. Because we recognize grandfather first. I encourage each one of you, please consider walking on grandmother's face with gentle steps, embracing the love of all that grandmother has given us. Don't discard the buildings, the concrete, the poison, the negative. It all came from grandmother. There is no importing, exporting business in this universe. It's either here in grandmother's face, and we have to honor it, possess it, and be a part of it. The directions that are pointing in the different things, they have so many meanings that it goes on as long as my arm, but it basically is the white is for the north, and the north represents this time and this day because we are moving today from the north to the spring. Today is an honored day of the transgendered human experience, and it's a holiday of us because it is the equinox of that is between the winter and the summer, between the human identity of masculine and feminine. And so today, twice a year, we walk in that space of the equinox in balance. And we are the keeper of that history, of that heart space within that walk. So celebrate today because it is your day to celebrate, and everybody else doesn't know the secret. Okay? Seventh direction is you, and it's right there in the center, and it's the bead. I could go on and talk for quite a bit of time on these symbols and these things, but here is working ideas that I'm pushing out there. It's not a Native American only idea. It's a human experience idea. Take it, embrace it if you feel comfortable with. I can't thank you enough for your attention and your time and your patience to listen to just the beginning of telling the many stories that we have. I can't take enough time to appreciate the university here and my good friend, an old friend. Damn it, it's been that long. Anyway, Aho, you are all my relations. Thank you so very much.